So next we have our speaker, Reverend Wanda, and her message today is Living in the Intersection.
Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so we're trying out something new today, so I'm a little nervous. But I will tell you, our opening song was amazing. Gabriel, your song was amazing. And Grace, your prayer, the daily word, all works in today's message. Good morning, Unity friends and members, visitors, and metaphysicians. Welcome to Unity of Fort Wayne Spiritual Center, and I trust you find this a place where you and your questions are welcome. Let's take a moment to center ourselves in this space and welcome the abiding Spirit. In this moment, I quiet my mind, open my heart, and choose to allow myself the possibility of a new perspective, one that is grounded in spiritual principle and in my infinite potential. In this moment, I am consciously open to what is possible. And so it is. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about what is God or what is not God. And I think most of us can agree that God is not some old white bearded guy up in the sky. That's the one thing we can agree on. God is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent, everywhere, all the time, and all powerful. The entire what is, what was, and what will be. This is Unity's first principle. There is only one presence and one power active as the universe and in my life, God the good. Next came who or what am I? We are the created child of God in the image of God, as is the totality of all of creation. Created in the image of God, we are therefore good. We are spiritual beings, part of the I Am. In God we live and move and have our being. This is Unity's second principle. Our essence is of God. Therefore, we are inherently good. This God essence, called the Christ, was fully expressed in Jesus. Each of us has a physical body made with the same elements as the stars, the entire cosmos, all that we can see, touch, smell, or hear. I've heard it said that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Our bodies are the vessels through which God works. We are God's hands and feet. It may be said that within our physical human bodies is the place where God lives. Not in the majestic cathedrals or within the walls of a church, but within each of us. Did not Jesus say that heaven is within? Paul teaches in 1 Corinthians, don't you know your bodies are members of Christ? The human body is one of God's great creations, and we are responsible for its care. What we have reviewed today form the foundation as such for Unity teachings. We are spirit, soul, which is another word for mind, and our physical human bodies. We are complete and whole. In unity, Jesus is our way shower, elder brother, rabbi, or teacher. He understood the connection of our human selves to God. Because he understood God so perfectly, he was able to do things that seemed like miracles, and yet taught that each of us could do these miracles as well if we only put God first. He taught his followers how to think, pray, and act. Jesus was a human being that shows us the possibilities of miracles. Jesus was fully human, physical embodiment of Christ consciousness. With all of my being, I do not think Jesus intended us to worship him. He wanted us to do as he did and worship God and love one another. Okay, I'm going to stop here because if you can understand these first two principles, you've got a great foundation for everything else that unity teaches. I could stop right here and sit down and we could go home in a few minutes, but I do have more to say. Okay. I'm not going to tell you I'm never going to mention this foundation again in the future because it is so critical. All right. Unity teachings are a part of and grew out of the New Thought movement based on the power of prayer and the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth, metaphysically interpreted by Charles and Fillmore and other early unity teachers. And that's why I'm so happy that Susan's teaching Eric Butterworth, as he was a great teacher. Unity also looks to other spiritual masters of all faiths for wisdom. So we're not in our own little lane here, we've got a wide road. Although many of us think of unity as a spiritual movement, in truth, we are a spiritual organization. We meet the criteria for a religion. We fit the definition of a religion. We are listed as a religion in the academic world. And we are seen as a religion by the government and by our tax system. And we are recognized as a religion in the World Parliament of Religions. When I was in college, beginning my education in interior design, we were required to take so many credits in general studies. And I took religion in America, and then next semester I took world religions. That is really where I first heard about unity, was in a college class, talking about and it was in the section of Christianity. So it was all there. And I'm sitting there and I'm going like, man, this sounds like something I might be interested in. And that was like 35, 40 years ago. Okay. We say we have no dogma, but really that's not quite true. We have the 5 principles, which are posted in several places and basically serve as our statement of faith. But if you choose to believe and embrace the idea that unity is a spiritual movement, hey, that's okay. As followers of Christ, we are a small but mighty part of the totality of all of Christianity. Fillmore's called that practical Christianity. In my mind, the biggest difference between unity and other faiths is if you disagree with anything that unity teachings, hey, it's okay. If the 12 powers doesn't work for you, hey, it's okay. If you don't want to be called a Christian, that's okay too. If you aren't digging the Bible, that's okay. Do you want to be spiritual and not religious? That's okay. Our focus is on spiritual transformation and spiritual growth. Not so much on a blessed afterlife, but living in heaven, however you define it, now. It's just that unity sees the world through a different lens. Our goal is the renewal of the mind, entering into Christ consciousness, wholeness, and living as one with the divine, and to live as Jesus lived. When he said, I and my Father are one. In other words, to live a life of the goodness that we already are. Jesus taught that the only commandment, which is another word for law, of any importance was to love God and love one another. This is the foundation of all of his teachings, and this is our calling. I like to think of it as a cross or intersection. Okay, now go with me on this visual, okay? Spirit as the vertical line, human as the horizontal, okay? The vertical line, never changing, always present, always knowing. Vertical as God, as omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent. This line is all light, okay? Horizontal line is my human life or experience. Having a past and future, always forward, always backward, or stagnant. I never know what's ahead, only what follows me, and this is my life within space and time. This line is filled with constant, unending change. It's filled with uncertainty. It's filled with betrayal, sorrow, and loss. Things don't seem fair, and sometimes, often, it's very, very painful. These are the things of life, and they are unavoidable. The intersection of these two lines is where our true selves resides. It is where the life and life intersect. I think this is the place where Jesus was teaching about and appealing to. This is the place where transformation begins. Although the light is always there, this is the place we choose. Love and peace. This is the place where we let the light illuminate the uncertainties, heal the pain, and where love and peace will always be found. This is where our soul resides. Jesus seldom gave sermons. He usually taught through brief sayings and parables. He had a way of using everyday experiences to reach his audience, and these have proven to be timeless. How he lived his life teaches us about unconditional love, forgiveness, and non-judgment. By example, he taught the power of prayer and meditation. He lived his life with vision, purpose, and meaning, and lived out a life of service or love in action. It's not easy, and Jesus knew it. It cost him his life. I've heard it said that the Bible is no longer relevant to unity teachings. And frankly, I wonder how that can be. Because it is in the Bible where the teachings of Jesus are recorded. So get a couple of good biblical translations, not just one, but get a couple. Read and reflect upon the sacred books of all faiths as well. Don't be afraid to seek out their wisdom. Read some Gnostic stuff. If you really want to get into it, read the Gospel of Thomas. And I've read it at least 24 times. Every time, it's just, I don't know how it didn't make it into the canon. I really don't. I have an idea, but... And I found some really, really good stuff from the Catholic tradition. Here's an example of love in action. All right, slide please. Okay. All right. This is Officer William Stacy and Helen Johnson. She went to the dollar store with $1.50 in her purse, hoping to buy a dozen eggs. But when she got there, she realized that she was 50 cents short. She had no other money. All that she had, she held in her hand. Desperate to feed the 5 children under her care, she made the decision and stole 5 eggs. The store manager caught her and called the police. Officer Stacy arrived on the scene, fully expecting to arrest the thief. But when he heard why she stole the eggs, he convinced the store manager not to press charges. He became her advocate. He purchased her a dozen eggs, and with her promise not to steal again, sent her home. So overcome with compassion, he and a friend later went to the grocery store and purchased enough food to fill her entire pantry. She wept because never in her adult life had she seen such an abundance. Later, when he was asked why he did it, his response was, "Sometimes we shouldn't apply the law, but must apply the humanity." All right, now this is a really good feel-good story, right? So I'm going to ask you why. Why does this story feel so good? What did the officer do that was very much different than the story of Jesus and the woman caught in adultery and casting the first stone? How is this story different? That's right. Compassion. Non-judgment. This is an everyday example of what Jesus taught. Helen Johnson broke the law. Officer Stacy was an agent of the law, and it was his job to arrest her. He could have lost his livelihood over this woman, but he chose love, non-judgment, and compassion. This is the intersection between light and life. This is where it happens, right here. Now I'm going to read a passage in the words of John Shelby Sprong. And if you don't know him, you got to get some of his books on his teaching. He's a progressive, actually a progressive priest. and theologian. If God is the source of love, then the only way I can worship God is by loving wastefully. I mean the kind of love that never stops to calculate, never stops to wonder whether the object of the love is worthy. It is the love that loves not because it has been earned. That's where I think God is made visible. If God is the source of life, as I believe God is, then God is present in you and me and in the whole created order. And if God is the source of life, then the only way you can worship God is by living fully, sharing life, giving life away, not being afraid, wandering out into the uncertainties, out of the known into the unknown. If God is the source of love, as I believe God is, then the only way you can worship God is by loving. Not by being right, but by loving. And loving wastefully. You love because love is what you have to do, not because somebody deserves it. You love wastefully. If God is the ground of being, as I believe God is, then the only way you and I can worship God is by having the courage to be all that we can be in the infinite variety of our humanity, whether we are male or female, gay or straight, transgender or bisexual, white or black or yellow or brown, left-handed or right-handed, brilliant or not so quite brilliant. No matter what our human differences are, if you have something to offer in your own being, you have something to offer. Nobody else can offer what you have to offer, and the only way you can worship God is by daring to be all that you can be and not be bound by the fears of yesterday. This is where light and love intersect. Okay. So let's take a minute. Let's just take a few breaths and relax. Oh. We can thank Spirit, okay? That's okay. All right, we're going to enter into meditation. And I just would like for you to take a few breaths and relax. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. And imagine a bright light over your head, shining down. Bright light under your feet, shining up. Just breathe into this light. Now this light is shining through you and in you, the totality of your human body. This light is now shining before you and behind you. You now are engulfed with light. Light all within, light all without, and you are radiant. You are illuminating all those around you. You are now shining beyond these walls. Take a few breaths and breathe in the light. Breathe out the light. You are the center of this pure, radiant light. You are the center of pure, radiant love. As you continue to shine, this light is now coming back to you. Your life, your past, your future, engulfed in light. This light brings peace. This light brings joy. Your mind is at ease as you continue to breathe in and out this light. Rest in this light. And as you breathe in and out, slowly bring your awareness back into this room, in this time and space. And when you are ready, open your eyes. Okay, you guys know I'm in love with poet Mary Oliver. So I have a poem in closing. In praise of craziness of a certain kind. I do love this. On cold evenings, my grandmother, with the ownership of half her mind, the other half flown back to Bohemia, would spread newspapers over the porch floor. So, she said, the ants could crawl beneath as under a blanket and keep warm. And what shall I wish for myself? But being so struck by the lightning of years, to be like her with what is left, that loving. So be a little crazy, make a little trouble, and be like Jesus. Be in the intersection of life and love. Be in that intersection. May you be surrounded by kindness, love fully and wastefully, and live in peace. Thank you.